Today, we're going to dive into one of the most sobering stories in the entire Bible, the tragedy of King Joash of Judah. This is a story about a king who started out with everything you could ask for: a great beginning, godly wisdom, and the full support of his nation. But he ended up losing it all.
His story makes us ask a really tough question, one that I think is relevant for every single one of us. What happens when a good heart, a heart that genuinely followed God, starts to turn cold? Let's get into it.
You know, the entire story really hangs on this one powerful verse from 2 Chronicles. It's a warning, it's a verdict, and it's a tragic summary all rolled into one. It pretty much sets the stage for everything that's about to happen.
But the crazy thing is, it didn't start with tragedy. Not at all. The first part of Joash's reign was actually a golden age for the kingdom, and it was all because he was a leader being guided by true wisdom.
Now here's the key. Joash's success wasn't entirely his own doing. It was directly tied to his mentor, the priest Jehoiada. As long as Joash listened to this godly man, he did what was right. He honored God, he led the people in restoring the temple, and the whole nation just flourished.
But then, everything changed. What was good and stable began to completely fall apart, and it's all because the king, and really the whole kingdom, lost its anchor. Just look at this timeline. It lays it all out so clearly. While Jehoiada was alive and well, Joash followed God. Simple as that. But when Jehoiada died, at the incredible age of 130, by the way, it created this massive vacuum. And into that void stepped new voices, the officials of Judah, who did not have God's best interests at heart.
I mean, just look at the contrast here. It's like we're looking at 2 completely different men. On the left, you've got the Joash who listened to Jehoiada. He's honoring God, walking in wisdom. But on the right, you see the Joash who listened to the officials. He abandons the temple, he worships idols. It all came down to whose voice he chose to follow.
And that one choice, well, it sent him and the entire nation into this terrible downward spiral. This next part of the story shows us the absolutely devastating consequences of forgetting God.
And you have to understand, this wasn't just one bad decision. It was a path. It started with listening to bad advice, which then led to abandoning the temple. Then, when God sent prophets to warn him, he just flat out ignored them. And the final horrific step, he ordered the murder of Zechariah, the innocent son of the very man who had raised and mentored him. Can you even imagine the heartbreak in this moment? Zechariah, Jehoiada's own son, is being stoned to death on the orders of the king his father basically raised. And his last words aren't even a curse. They're a cry for justice. May the Lord see this and call you to account. And believe me, God did. The judgment was swift and it was severe. God allowed a tiny little army to completely crush Judah's much larger force. Joash was left badly wounded, and then, in the ultimate betrayal, his own officials killed him in his bed. He was even denied the honor of being buried with the other kings. Just a truly tragic end. Okay, so what does this ancient story have to do with us? Well, the first big lesson is about the danger of drifting. Because just like Joash, our lives are so profoundly shaped by the voices we choose to listen to. You know, spiritual drifting isn't usually some big, dramatic rebellion. It's much quieter than that. It's the slow process of replacing God's voice with other, lesser voices. And the real danger is that it happens so slowly, we often don't even realize it's happening until we're way off course. So how do we stop that from happening? How do we stay steady? It's all about where we're anchored. It means keeping a soft heart that's actually open to God's correction. It means seeing his warnings not as restrictions, but as loving guardrails. And crucially, it means staying rooted in the truth of Scripture and connected to a community of believers who will speak truth to us, just like Jehoiada did for Joash.
But there's another really important lesson here, and this one is all about God's character. It's the call to return, and it's this beautiful truth that God's mercy always comes before his judgment.
Think about it. Before the army came, before the assassination, God sent prophets. He sent warnings. He sent Zechariah. Joash's downfall wasn't because God gave up on him. It's because Joash rejected every single chance God gave him to come back home. So for us, the takeaway is simple. Do the complete opposite of what Joash did. When we feel that conviction from God, we need to respond quickly, not put it off. We have to learn to notice when our hearts are starting to get stubborn. And we should actively thank God for the Jehoiadas he puts in our lives to call us back.
If we could boil this entire story, all its complexity and tragedy, down to just one single word to remember, what would it be?
It's this one word. Listen. Joash's success and his failure, his blessings and his curses, it all came down to who he was listening to. We have to listen to God first and always. And that leaves us with the final question, the one this whole story is really pushing us to answer for ourselves. After seeing the tragedy of King Joash, whose voice will you choose to follow today?